So we're on Great Fish Isle. There is a chest in an alcove up there. So I'm trying to remember how to actually get there, though. There it is. I think we have to go up the little spire island and then glide over with the Deku Leaf, if I'm not mistaken. I also realized off-screen when I was checking all of these, I actually missed quite a few of the chests in Dragon Roost. I actually couldn't remember if I checked the one in the rat room, and I also learned that you can actually get the one without the grappling hook if you use the Deku Leaf, so we'll be doubling back there at some point. I don't know if that'll be today or next time, but at some point we need to actually go back for those. In general, though, I'm not really concerned about making a ton of progress today, just from the perspective of we got a lot of key items last time, and to be honest, it's making me a little bit nervous about how the mid portion of this particular randomizer seed is going to be. I think we're going to stall out. Probably in this session or the next, we're gonna massively hit a roadblock in terms of what we are currently able to do, because we had pretty good luck last time. Now, what do we have to do here? Is this a... Oh, it looks like we don't have to do anything. Looks like it's just here. Some you have to blow up the cannons, others you have to fight all the enemies. But this one doesn't seem like it actually has any prerequisites, so we can just climb up and get this. Hopefully. Without too much trouble, and maybe try to pick up some joy pendants if there are enemies. We need a lot of joy pendants, we need like 40 or something, but we don't have the grappling hook, so it's just all down to luck basically if the enemies want to drop them. And so far my luck has been terrible with that, so... we're just getting a lot of rupees. I don't know if it's actually changed in this randomizer, where it's like set up in such a way that it is actually more difficult, because it almost feels like it, where I could have sworn, well, never mind, the game decided to prove me wrong. I could have sworn they drop them a lot more frequently than they currently do. Probably only drops when you don't need it. That's how randomizers seem to work. More Triforce charts. We've gotten entirely charts so far. This is not how I wanted to start this out, but sometimes that happens. So we are missing two things here, which I think are tied to cannons. Alright, here we go. Okay, so they actually both appear here, even though there's only, like, you have to destroy the cannons on both platforms, but they actually appear over on the one you have to glide to. That makes sense. Platform chart. Cool. Is that even on here? Nope, that one fell into the water again. Well, I'm gonna die for that, I think. It's worth it. Even if we, fall and drown, it's still ultimately worth it, because we need quite a few of those. The problem with randomizers is they basically have logic. And part of the appeal of randomizers is trying to decipher said logic, and given that I've never really successfully done a randomizer of this type, trying to actually, parse through what the logic actually is trying to say is easier said than done sometimes. When was the last time I played this game? It would have been HD, for starters. Last time I played vanilla probably was, years ago at this point. So trying to get used to everything is definitely complicated. I guess that's actually relevant to talk about a little bit. Basically, people often debate which version is better. I actually still like Wind Waker HD, even though it's very blown out. I still do enjoy the game's overall presentation quite a bit. If they do another port, or a port of the remaster, I would be fine with turning down the bloom, to be honest, but even then, I actually was never as bothered by it as others were. But also, there's a lot of discussion about how many Wii U games are actually left on this console and not released anywhere else, and so far, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD are kind of the last holdouts, and it makes me wonder if, it's because we've gotten so many other Zelda games that they just don't really need to fill a space for a Zelda game. But with Xenoblade X being announced yesterday, there's been a lot of talk about why Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD are still not on Switch. My personal opinion is, I think people underestimate how much work these games would take, because both had so many Miiverse features that I think would be really hard to come up with suitable duplicates for, or like replacements for. So I actually genuinely think that might be a problem with this, and something that makes it not as like trivial as it's made out to be, because some are like, oh yeah, it'd be really easy. But I think it'd actually be a lot of work to port over. Maybe Switch 2 at this point. My guess is cross-gen. Not cross-gen traditionally, but like, basically have Switch 1, like Xenoblade's doing, like Switch 1, but it will still work on Switch 2, is kind of my feeling. Maybe it'll run better. Even on like Wii U, Wind Waker HD did not run at 60 FPS, which is a benefit of Skyward Sword HD, but also coding works differently. In a lot of early games, they did not code things very independently of frame rate. So the inherent problem with a lot of old games, and again, this is one of those things that was like, why didn't they make this 30 FPS? Because a lot of times logic is hard-coded to the frame rate. A very good example is Tales of Symphonia. If you want to see the game completely break, look up 60 FPS gameplay, because people have tried to get the Steam version to run at 60 FPS, but basically when they did the PS2 port, they basically recoded everything for 30 FPS, and every subsequent version has been based on the PS2 version, meaning every version is like hard capped at 30, unfortunately. It's not a big deal to me, personally, though I also started with like Tales of the Abyss on 3DS, so who am I to say what's a stable frame rate or not. But basically, my overall impression of it is, it's one of those things that'd be nice, but it's not like essential, I guess. I've never been like the biggest stickler for frame rate, to be totally honest. Like, it'd be nice to have games running at 60, but if it's running at 30 and locked, I don't mind, usually. It's only when it's, like, inconsistent that I actually kind of, like, raise an eyebrow to it. For example, the one game that I always say is Age of Calamity, Hyrule Warriors. That game's frame rate is, like, the worst I've personally experienced on Switch, and to the point where it is actually, like, difficult to play, and if you try to play co-op, it's, like, probably single-digit frame rate. At that point, it's really unplayable at a certain level, so that's a case where it's like, yeah, that is a problem, but like, small dips periodically don't bother me too much. Wind Waker 100% is really cool, but also frustrating because of the Nintendo Gallery, because if you do want 100% there, you basically either have to have a lot of foresight for specific characters or enemies, or do a New Game Plus run, where the pictographs and the... Well, we have all three pearls now, so Tower of the Gods is on the table, except we still don't have the Grappling Hook. This might be one of the worst cannons, actually, just because it's so high up I can't see anything. Nope, we screwed up. Okay. The tracker says the boomerang works on these. Well, I'll be. Well, that's good to know. You live and learn, because I never knew you could do that. But I was like, I wonder if the tracker says anything, and it did, so thankfully we do not have to go all the way back. Color Splash, I think, would be really easy. And I would like to see it, because I'm a modern Paper Mario defender to some level. Even though Thousand Year Door is like one of my favorite games ever, I will still swear by modern Paper Mario as not being as bad as people make it out to be. Though again, it's all very subjective, of course. There are definitely good reasons to not like these games, and also reasons I don't think quite hold up as well, is how I will put it. Again, I feel like I've been giving very cryptic answers to the question of how are you, when it shouldn't be that cryptic, but it is very complicated. And I think that's like the nicest way I can put it. Well, we got bombs again, so we can go and do more checks. We need to do East Fairy Island. Beatles chart. Again, not even on here, because it's not required for anything. A lot of randomizers are kind of more just like randomize parts of levels, and then it'll be funny. But like Zelda randomizers have like a sense of progression to them, where you have to basically go in an order the game wants you to go in, but you don't know what that order is until you're actually playing it. So some people try to like figure out the logic. Okay, magic armor, that's not like terribly helpful. Moderately helpful, I'd say, but I don't really care about it. We actually shouldn't use it right now because I want to save magic for a particular check coming up later. I did not mean to pick up a barrel, I meant to roll out of the way. Why am I fighting these? I should just run. I'm like very quickly dying. Well, that's good. We do need the Triforce, so... I also kind of wonder with HD, and also Twilight Princess HD for that matter, if that's part of the reason why they're kind of not putting out both games, because they're designed very differently. Like, people keep saying they should do a bundle, and like, that'd be great and all, but I actually don't know if that'd be feasible. Just from the perspective of, Wind Waker HD, to my knowledge, was done in-house, and Twilight Princess HD was done by Tantalus, that did Skyward Sword HD, and earlier this year did Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. So like, Tantalus tends to remaster games a lot more like faithfully. Like, they will up-res everything and improve performance, but in general, it's not like a, you know, night and day difference. Like, Wind Waker HD looks starkly different than Wind Waker Original. So it does feel like a lot more work went into that versus Twilight Princess HD, regardless of if one likes the work put into it or not, because again, it's a little bit polarizing if, like, the game looks good or not. We are really coming up with very little so far. Well, okay, that's interesting. I think we're going to beeline it to Tingle Island, actually, because I genuinely want to see what's behind there, because it's so weird that we got all of the statues this easily. Well, that was not worth it. Very, very anticlimactic, to be honest. Oh, well, that might actually be worth it then. Alright, there we go. Typically, you can go in increments of 5 to 10, and that'll work out perfectly fine. Case in point. Alright, what do we get? Arrow, okay. Not really essential, but definitely helpful. Treasure chart. Off screen, I'll also write down which treasure charts I actually have. Not that does us any good until we get the grappling hook, so we're just kind of at a standstill with every treasure chart. I almost feel like that's the frustration of Wind Waker, is there are so many treasure charts. You can turn that off, by the way. You can just select to not have treasure charts active, which is actually not a bad idea. Like, for a beginner, I probably shouldn't have done it this way. I probably should have done no treasure charts in rotation, just to rule out a lot of possibilities all at once. That would definitely have made things a lot easier. But I think I did actually check that. So I might pay for my hubris later on of thinking I can actually handle this. Now, can we get 1 rupee? Alright, game. This is getting a little silly. This is getting very silly. Okay, come on now. We just need 1. This is so dumb. Why isn't it giving me rupees? I've been getting rupees so much this playthrough, and the one time I want a rupee, I can't get it. So yeah, this is fixed, apparently. I also wonder if the Pick the Box quest will play into this, because we really don't have, much to go off of in terms of, like, other item-related checks at the moment. And another treasure chart. We've been getting so many of these. Again, there's gotta be something tied to one of these. One of these has to be essential. So, there's a 950 and a 900. So I think this would be the 950, well, which is actually good. This is the 500. Which would be better, though? I feel like there are more spots where you need the power bracelets than the iron boots. But again, I might eat my words. It might be tied to the iron boots after all. We also can't do the fire and ice islands yet because we do not have the elemental arrows. Yeah, if I knew Ocarina of Time, I would definitely try to do that game instead, but I actually don't know that game very well at all. So it just makes more sense to do Wind Waker as a starting randomizer. I also don't know Link to the Past very well. Truth be told, I'm not like the biggest fan of it. It's not a bad game by any means, but it's just kind of like rough around the edges, in my opinion, in a way that's still like, the game is really good, but it's like, oh, this sucks. It's really good, but it's just dated, and I can't quite process sometimes the dated design elements of Link to the Past, like enemy scaling. Or damage scaling, I think gets really bad once it goes deeper into the game. For example, if you have the, whatchamacallit, the various, like, males, it wouldn't be that bad, but I can't picture doing some of the late game dungeons with just, like, green male, because my biggest complaint about Link to the Past is how much damage a lot of enemies do late game, especially even with the armor, but I can't imagine doing it without, like, the blue tunic, or blue mail, or red mail. Bait bag. Okay, that's gonna open up quite a few things, I think. The other thing I wonder about is like Link's Awakening, because that also feels like a more linear game compared to others, so I wonder how a randomizer would be balanced for that. I do know there's like... what's the word I'm looking for? Again, I realize this would be worth it, because that's a net profit of 80. Also, the fish can give hints. Basically, if you feed them bait in the randomizer, you can set it so they actually do help you. We're not gonna worry about that, though. Why is the pig a different color than usual? I didn't know that would randomize. So yeah, I'm very surprised by that. Okay, we have a problem. Which one is it, actually? I don't know which dirt patch we actually need, which is a good thing that I saved. I didn't actually mean to throw you. I want you to be somewhat close here. I don't know if that's close enough, but I guess we'll find out. Okay, that's definitely the one. But it's another treasure chart. And we have the Picto Box. Oh boy, this is a interesting item to get. Trying to parse my feelings on getting this.